Views and opinions of any of the guests of After Hours AM are not necessarily the views and opinions of After Hours AM, its hosts, its staff, or any of its affiliates.
Welcome to the After Hours program.
Are you ready?
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Now broadcasting live from the After Hours AM studio, Joel Sturgis and Eric Olsen.
Can't shake this terror from my head tonight. Alone and forsaken I bleed. A twisted vision, a tired mind betrayed a victim of shame. R.I.P. you're dead to me. You tore out my Frankenstein heart. A twisted vision of
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to this edition of After Hours AM. North, south, east, west. Whether you're listening to IRN, iHeartRadio. Wow, okay, here we go. IRN, iHeartRadio, UPRN, Public Radio, down in New Orleans. Or even if you're listening, of course, via podcast later on. And, of course, there are Dark Matter Radio, amongst many, many more outlets. We'd like to thank you all, each and every one of you, for making us what we are today, by the way. I just want to tell you guys, we had a huge response to the show. It's really exploded over the years, and if it weren't for you guys, we would not be here. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me.
Eric Olsen.
Am I right, Eric? Without them, we would not be us.
Well, we would be us, but no one would know about it.
That's right. We'd be like the tree falling in the forest and no one around.
We sure would.
Does it truly fall?
There isn't a sound. There may be sound waves going through the air.
There might be.
But there wouldn't be a sound because
No.
there'd be no one to hear it.
That is right. You're absolutely correct, Mr. Science Man. You're absolutely correct. There would be no one to receive the sound.
Exactly.
No matter
And
how
process
cool it is.
Through their ears and brains.
That's right. So how has your week been? I know last night we had a great time talking true crime, of course. And if you haven't heard that show, it is up for download, of course. And we had, from Killing Fields, we had Major Ronnie Hebert last night. And he is the head honcho, so to speak, of the police department. And what county was that again, Eric? It already escaped me.
They have parishes.
Yes.
In Louisiana. And
Yes.
I believe it was Iberville or Eberville.
Yeah, Eberville,
something
yes. Yeah, and it was great because, of course, everyone follows them on the Discovery Channel. Already bombarded me with, wow, that was really good, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I'm sure in the future we will be having them back on the show. And when we do, it will be a good time, of course. Maybe next time we can talk to Rhodey.
Ooh, that'd be great. That'd be
He's
cute. He's kind of
cool.
the other end of the temperamental spectrum.
He is.
We have calm, very organized, relatively sophisticated Ronnie, who we had on last night.
Yes.
And then we have kind of slightly unhinged, but super dedicated, super experienced, a man who lives his job, Detective Sanchez.
Yes. Yep. But anyhow, yeah, that was last night. And so, of course, if
Great
you want
show.
to check it out, you can go to afterhoursam.podomatic.com, or you can also go to Paranormal A over there on Blog Talk Radio. I just want to give a big thank you for them carrying our podcast. We're ripping it up over there as well. And we want to thank them, our friends up to the north, for making us as popular as we are over there as well. But tonight we are talking Bigfoot, man. Not just any Bigfoot. It's a very controversial topic on Bigfoot. To kill,
Super controversial.
to kill or not to kill. That is the
Apparently-
question.
I was just poking around the internet a little bit. No, not looking hard or anything. Just doing a little bit of research. And oh my God, there's a petition against the show. There's a petition against Destination America airing the show. It's extremely controversial. There's a lot of Bigfoot people who are up in arms about it. And it will be very, very interesting to talk to the star of the show, Jim Lansdale. And then we also have the creator of the show, and he is the director and kind of a little bit of everything. He is the major domo, and that is Peter von Puttkamer. Love that name.
Peter von Puttkamer. That's a great name. I love that name as well. You know, the other day I was sitting here doing radio work, like I often am, and it occurred to me, Eric, as odd as this is going to sound, it occurred to me I should really start a cult.
Well, it's worth...
Well, I pondered it for a minute.
It's worth researching.
I even put that on Facebook. I'm pondering starting a cult, and I couldn't believe how many people want to join this cult. But then I realized robes and haircuts cost a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
I just
it's not
don't
like
have...
it used to be. It's not like it used to be.
And then I thought I'd go to a third world country, get a small piece of land, and buy some Kool-Aid. But I was told that was already done.
Yeah, and they got to have a lot of mosquitoes.
Yeah, I'd want to be a trailblazer, is what I'd want to be. But still, the cult is out the window. But, I just don't have the startup money or the dedication.
Yeah, there's some land opening up in the Arctic or the Antarctic.
That was the rumor I heard. Are you going to buy any, or are you going to go ahead and maybe get a timeshare up there?
Well, yeah, maybe, for the off season. I don't like to be crowded. I like a little elbow room. So, yeah, maybe we'll head up or maybe we'll head down.
You and the polar bears, and you could hang out. You could be one with the Arctic nature.
The melting of the polar ice cap is chasing away the polar bears.
You just tell that to people in power that that's happening, and they'll give you a strongly worded letter.
It's all a hallucination.
It's all hokey pokey stuff. What are you talking about?
Nonetheless, I'm pondering that. Yes, but now, of course, the actual North Pole.
Yes,
there's no land there.
There is no land under the ice, is there?
No, it's just ocean.
But the South Pole is where you do have land.
South Pole, Antarctica, is a continent.
Maybe, just maybe, the North Pole is where the lost city of Atlantis was.
Maybe, although, James Cameron has a special coming on, I think, this weekend, right?
Yeah.
On looking for Atlantis. He thinks he's found an interesting remnant of the actual Atlantis at the very mouth of the Mediterranean.
Well, a lot of people have assumed it was at the Bimini Road. You've heard of that, I'm sure, by the Bermuda Triangle several times. That has been a source of controversy that possibly could have been the location of said Atlantis. But they've never found anything conclusive. There was no pottery. There was nothing to suggest real civilization.
The other problem is it's kind of the wrong continent.
Well, yeah, it kind of is. Then you got that, then you have the glaring wrong continent thing going on.
Yeah,
it makes people incontinent when they have to hear about it.
It depends.
It definitely depends. Hey, you know what?
If you go back far enough, all of the continents were connected.
That is true. Pangea. That's right. That is that's absolutely correct. I mean, that would explain. Well, there had to be a Pangea anyway, because how else would you get kangaroos in Australia? It's not like they swam there.
Well, no, but I do think they actually evolved on Australia. Now, what did they evolve from? That I don't know.
Good question.
They are unique. In other words, they're unique to Australia. Australia has been isolated. By lots of ocean for many, many, many millions of years.
Yes.
And so that isolation, that's why they have so many species that are unique to that continent.
Yeah. Well, that is true. That it's evolution. It would be interesting to see what that particular marsupial came from. Well, how it was made.
Marsupials.
Yeah. What dinosaur? Maybe it's the Velociraptor first.
That'd be cool.
You know, it very well could have been. It really
Kinda
could have been the
bouncy. They were fast and
Velociraptor.
bouncy.
They
Did
were
have a
fast.
bounce?
Well, if you watch Jurassic Park, and I know you have several times because you just love
Oh, yeah.
that Jurassic Park, they are fast, they're bouncy, but they're also extremely deadly.
And smart.
Very smart. I didn't know
I don't know if they're really smart, but supposedly they are.
I knew a guy that used to work for the EPA, and he ended up going to Australia. And he came back, and we're talking. I said, so what's it like, those kangaroos over there? He says, dude, they're so flippin' violent. It's not even funny. I said, really? They're cute, and, you know, you're cuddly. You see them at the park, and you just walk up that pit. No, the wild ones are like 6 feet tall, and they destroy everything and get their hands on.
They are mean. Well, you
Really?
remember that they used to box them.
They
Remember
did.
they used to box kangaroos?
Do you remember did you watch the recent video of the street fight between two kangaroos boxing?
Yes. They are vicious. And those legs,
Oh,
my God,
yeah.
if they kick you, that's it.
I was waiting for the winner to go, Adrian, when he was done.
It was a comeback bout.
It was. He beat Apollo. You know, it was finally the Rocky kangaroo
Apollo
up against
Roo.
Yeah, exactly, against Rocky the. I was gonna say raccoon, but that would not be right.
Rocky the Roo.
Yeah, that was just a funny video. In fact, I'm watching it right now. I pulled it up quick. Wow, they're a violent little critter, aren't they? They're
They
pounding
are.
the crap out of each other.
Australia is such an interesting place. I really do. I love Australia.
Have you
Only
ever
been there once.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
What made you go to Australia?
We went in 2000 for the Sydney Olympics.
Really? Did you have
Yes.
a lot of fun?
Oh, we had a ball.
Did you
but
drink Foster's?
travel to and from was a nightmare.
Did you have a few Foster's beers? Foster,
Oh,
Australian for beer.
We had many Foster's beers.
Yeah, well, you know, because it is Australian for beer.
It is.
But,
although, like so many other exports, when you're actually there, people don't drink that nonsense.
Yeah, that's for the dumb Americans that want to buy it over there.
It's like, you know, when you go to Canada, you're really going to have a freaking Labatt's or a Molson? No.
Yeah. Well, I'm over here and I'm looking at the different headlines, of course, you know, that's coming across the old feed, and I like this one. It says,
Speaking of Australia, but go ahead.
could wormholes really work? Probably not, and that's where they leave it.
That's it.
That's it.
Left you hanging.
What?
Oh, all right. Thanks. We'll move on.
Thank you. Well, we will move on from that.
Well, I
Evan-
mean, from a outsider, I am not a scientist, though I'm very interested in science, especially kind of cutting edge, creepy, weird, really cool, futuristic science, especially, I suppose, physics, cosmology, stuff like that, space stuff. So, but, all right, wormhole. So if you think about it from the outside, again, I'm not a scientist, but it would seem the problem with the wormhole would be that it was so unstable, right?
Yeah.
So how do you prop it open and make sure it stays open? Also, how would you direct it? You know, how would you have the other end come out where you want to end up?
Yeah.
And then there's even more questions. Would you only be, if you were somehow able to get all this to work, would you only be within our universe? Or would the end of it possibly be in a completely different universe, and then you're really screwed?
That is true. You don't want to be stuck in the alternate universe. That's
No,
bad.
because you know why? That's why they call it an alternate universe.
Well, sure. I mean, there could be another you.
It is not
You
our
know?
first pick. It's
No.
an alternate.
Exactly. Do you ever wonder what was here before space?
Well,
Because they give space a birth date.
sure, the
But-
Big Bang.
But what was there beforehand?
Well, think of it this way. Think of it like, I mean, this is just one answer. There's many possible answers, and no one knows the real answer, of course. But one of the answers to that is, imagine all of the universe, the entire vast, ever expanding, we're still expanding since
Yes.
the Big Bang universe, and reverse the process. So instead of expanding out ever farther, ever bigger universe, it's contracting and going backward until you get down to that teeny, tiny point that they call the singularity. So what is there besides that? There's nothing besides that.
Yeah. But what was there before the singularity? I mean, those questions could go on all night. They never end.
One of the theories is that whole process just keeps repeating.
Very well. Yeah. That's as good an answer as any. I mean, I'm not smart enough to look at the data they have out there because, quite honestly, A, I don't have time, and B, I really don't really care. I'm here. That's all that matters.
Well, it's all speculation anyway, right?
Yeah.
Because we can't go back. We can go back very far, and that's what's so cool. I think we were talking about this maybe last night or at least last week. One of the really amazing things about all this new technology with the telescopes and the ever more powerful lenses, and especially when you put those lenses then out into space so you don't have the interference of our atmosphere. So we are seeing farther and farther and farther and farther out, and at the same time, because it's so far, because of the nature of light, we're seeing farther and farther and farther back in time. So we're to the point now where we can see back to within, I think it's just a few million years even from the Big Bang. I mean, imagine how far back that is. But we'll never be able to go back to the actual moment of the Big Bang, or even more importantly, before that. So it's all speculation anyway.
Well, moving right along, did you know that Walt Disney banished Rasputin's ghost from Disneyland's Haunted Mansion?
I had heard that.
I'll give you some insight on that.
Please do.
The Haunted Mansion.
I didn't really read it.
The Haunted Mansion is one of the most beloved attractions at Disney theme park, thrusting visitors into a spooky world filled with dancing phantoms and eye-popping special effects. But there was one spirit planned for the ride who was so scary that Walt Disney himself barred him from being included, and that is Rasputin's ghost.
Wow. How did he get there in the first place?
Well, in August 1969, the Haunted Mansion made its debut in Anaheim, California, at Disney World. To rave reviews, Disney Imagineers had managed to capture a picture-perfect representation of a classic haunted mansion from the cinema and pulled it into the real world, mischievous ghosts and all. The attraction was a technological marvel for its day, featuring a blend of state-of-the-art animatronics and old-school theatrical illusions. If I can get over my own tongue, that'd be great. That wooed and made the crowd scared all at the same time. But there was one ghost, one entity that they created that was scarier than all else, and that was Rasputin's ghost. So scary that it made some visitors feel as if they were having heart trouble and made women scream. Allegedly, there was a woman that was 9 months pregnant, and she ended up going into labor. So after all that had happened, Walt Disney had to make a move to get rid of Rasputin. And that's what he did. They banned him. They said, "You're done. You're out of here."
So was he an actual character?
It doesn't go to where he was in the article. I mean, as far as living, it was the ever-living person. But evidently
was he an actual created character within the Haunted Mansion?
Okay. Here we go. At the time, he is actually patterned after Grigor Rasputin.
The real one?
Yeah, the real one. And he'd only been dead about 3 decades when they decided to recreate him.
Huh.
And evidently, he was a pretty bad dude. And
sure.
Was not really all that well liked. Just saying, probably not very well liked. And of course, Walt Disney wanted to make the Haunted Mansion as scary as possible, but one thing that they did not count on is how scary old Rasputin was.
Yeah, well, there's so many aspects to him. Actually, there's a new book out about him. I haven't read it, but it does confirm, a lot of the rumors and a lot of the perceived history about him. He did have a very strong influence on the royal family, or the family of the Tsar, I guess. I don't think they call him the royal family, and especially the wife. And he certainly did lots of very questionable things. and he was really, really hard to kill. You know,
That's right. He's the guy they poisoned and
he's
shot.
the guy they
and,
poisoned and drowned and shot and stabbed and everything.
and he
else.
just would not die. No matter what they did, they couldn't kill the dude.
Exactly.
But he did finally meet his maker. Didn't they finally get him to die
Yes.
by putting one through his head?
I imagine the combination of all these assaults finally added up, you know, and did him in. But I mean, it was really weird how long it took.
Well, yeah, normally, you know, that kind of, I'm reading the story right now. I happened to find an article about this guy in real life. He was a religious leader to some extent, and
exactly.
and they got kind of, you know, pissy with him, excuse my French, and they did him in. But they poisoned him first, and then they flogged him when the poison didn't work. He kept crawling outside. You know, he was all the way towards the courtyard, almost out of the place. And then the final thing it says here that to kill him was a bullet through the head, was what did him in ultimately. But everything else would not kill him.
Yeah, it's weird and remarkable. I mean, he definitely had some sort of powers, whether they were just powers of the mind or if he had some sort of actual supernatural power, I don't know. But supposedly this new biography is the best one yet in terms of really digging in to the facts, and they found some new original sources and all that kind of thing. It was a very tumultuous time, of course. You're talking about the Russian Revolution. So, you know, I mean, it's a strange time filled with strange people. But he was probably the strangest of them all. So yeah,
he was definitely different.
It just shows you that you know, Disney. I think we have a better perception these days because it's been so long since he himself has been gone. And with the internet and whatnot, there's so much, people are always looking into kind of alternative history. So now we know a lot more about the darker side, you know, of Disney and even Disney, the content, you know. I mean, look at all the early cartoons. So many of them were spooky. He did Halloween stuff.
We did a whole show on
Spooky
on Disney. Yeah, that was really cool.
It was.
A lot of things I did not know, and they brought that to light that it truly is a spooky joint to be at. And you wouldn't want to be there after dark. After all the lights are out and no one's around, I hear it's pretty damn spooky.
Yeah,
it'd make you pee a little.
Yeah, you may. You better. It depends. But,
it depends. Exactly. Again, did you hear about Zach Baggins and his haunted museum that's getting ready to launch? Did you hear about that?
I've heard he's doing one. I don't have any.
Well, evidently there's a doll that he is getting that's supposed to be the worst doll ever. That it's so bad that they don't even publish the name in the article of the doll. The people that have looked at it, in fact, they blurred out the image here, and it says, for your safety. They blurred the doll's out image.
Naturally.
Yeah, for your safety, because evidently people that viewed this doll firsthand have had heart attacks, strokes, all sorts of bad things that befell them. I'm not sure if I'd want to go to a museum and see a doll that may actually kill me.
Well, does it say what sort of measures that he is going to take to protect visitors?
He's going to put a glass case with a light on it.
That'll
stop it all right there.
Yeah, there you go.
Nothing gets past the glass case. Now, you saw Robert the doll, right?
I did see Robert the doll down in Key West.
What was Robert like? Did he talk to you? Was he kind of a nice guy? I mean, what was he like?
Robert didn't make all that much of an impression on me. He was also, almost identically as your description, first of all, he's much bigger than I anticipated. He's really quite large. He may be, 3-4 feet tall.
Really, that big, huh?
Yeah, so he's a big doll. You know, his face is so bland, and he's wearing the dumb sailor suit. It's kind of hard to be afraid of him in the dumb sailor suit. But anyway, he's in a glass case, and he's at a museum there at Key West, and it's interesting. People were gathered around him. I was with a bus tour, and so we all kind of went in together, and we're looking at him, and various people were expressing kind of weird feelings, but Who knows what is psychosomatic or what is
how much
suggestion within a group? I mean, you're in a group, you're expecting something to happen, so something probably will happen. I had no personal reaction to Robert.
Well, a ton of it, like you said, is just suggestion. They've only covered this doll for the last 50 years of being this diabolically haunted doll. And somebody gets there. Of course, you have a certain amount of people going, "Oh, I feel Robert. He wants to come out of his glass case and he wants to play with me." Or other people are like, "Oh my God, it's so terrifying. Martha, look at him. He moved his arm."
His story is he's ambiguous. He's not necessarily bad. He's more like a mischievous kind of guy, apparently. And as long as you are polite.
Yeah. I thought about buying a haunted doll for us and then giving it away on the show. Because if you go to eBay, there's thousands of them.
Yeah, where did all these haunted dolls come from?
I don't know. Well, evidently the haunted doll factory, I guess. But you can, made in hell when you look at the tag. But you can buy them, some of them are like $10, $20. I thought about that. But then I was thinking, oh, geez, maybe better give away a book instead. Maybe a book or something like that, not a haunted doll.
Safer, although, of course, it's filled with dangerous knowledge.
It is. It's full of dangerous knowledge. And, look for a couple giveaways this spring, in fact. I mean, I was cleaning out my personal library books, and, oh, my Lord, I have entirely too many. And look for us to be giving some away. I have a lot of doubles that were sent to me from different publishers. I'd love to give that to our audience. Maybe we'll
Excellent.
We'll do
That's
some
a very good idea.
Do some trivia stuff, maybe a couple games. We'll have a good time with it, and you'll be getting some cool movies, some cool books, cool autograph books, stuff like that. So keep tuned, because this spring we will definitely be jumping into the whole giveaway bag again, like we did last spring, and that was a big hit. But before we're done
Phantasmo.
Did you hear about the hotel that got hacked?
No, actually, I haven't heard that one.
You do realize that every hotel now has those electronic keys. You put your key in it, and unlocks. Well, evidently, this particular hotel, and where was that at? I did miss its location. Let me get you a location. Oh, it's in one of Europe's top hotels has admitted they had to pay thousands of bitcoins in ransom to cyber criminals who managed to hack their electronic key system, locking hundreds of guests out of their room until they paid it.
Wow.
It says Spurious hotel manager at the Romantic, say that 10 times fast, Stee Hotel in, here we go, Jegawort. It was a luxury 4-star hotel with a beautiful lakeside setting on an alpine slopes. You too could stay there if you could get the door unlocked. What had happened is these cyber criminals took control. Now, evidently, all of these locks are represented in their computer system, and actually they are tracked by the parent company via the internet. To see what rooms are being used, what rooms aren't. They know exactly what doors are open or closed in that whole facility by representation on their website. Well, these hackers got the great idea of, hey, wait a second now. If it's hooked up to the old interwebs, we should be able to hack it. We could get some Bitcoin. And that's just what they did. They paid them equivalent of 1,500 euro.
Well, that wasn't that big a deal.
No, is what they paid. About, what, $2,000 in our money?
Those were modest hackers.
Yeah, I think they're beginners. I think they're beginners.
They were successful, though.
They were. They got $15,000 in euro, or $1,500 euro. Then they got the Bitcoins. And I don't even know what a Bitcoin is, to be honest with you.
Oh, that's the system. It's all virtual. Yeah,
okay.
There's no real money. It's all
okay
for use within the digital.
Gotcha. So
system.
It's not actual currency.
It is not actual currency outside of the digital world. But within the digital world,
It means everything.
it has value just like anything else would. You know?
can buy anything you want in the digital world. Heck,
Sure.
order pizzas, get a hooker. I mean, do whatever you want with the Bitcoin. I don't, think you should get a hooker, but you probably could if you really, really want to.
I imagine you could.
Just saying. But we got to run to break here. When we come back, your America's Most Haunted Headlines. Don't go anywhere.
Black rainbows above the sky, the night crawls through my curtains. The shadow looms inside my head. Silent screams, and the night is close.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
It's your ideas, work, and creativity that make it your yard. At Ace, we're here to help with hoses and sprinklers to nurture growth, gardening tools for the shape of good things to come, even the right fertilizer and bug killers to make the grass a little greener. You'll find it all now at Ace, your place, with everything you need for your yard, plus helpful advice, almost like we're right there. Ace,
The helpful place.
Yes, love hurts. It can hurt emotionally, but more important, it can also hurt you physically. It can hurt you in a way which nobody who owns a hot tub and lives in California can afford to be unaware of. Yes, I'm talking about California hot tub rectal gonorrhea. This painful, incurable disease can make an enjoyable soak in a hot tub with family, friends, and dog into a literally unforgettable experience. If you catch California hot tub rectal gonorrhea, not only will you walk around feeling like you're about to pass a twisted sardine can lid, you'll also smell like a pile of burning tractor tires. So don't jump out of the frying pan and into the hot tub, because if you get California hot tub rectal gonorrhea, it'll really burn your ass.
This has been a public service message brought to you by the Citizens Against CHTRG Foundation. California hot tub rectal gonorrhea. We're not going to take it sitting down.
Anavar Media LCC is a dedicated team of professionals committed to helping business development scale and protect their websites, mobile applications, enterprise software solutions in the Northeast Ohio area. Locally owned since 2012, our client-centered values truly sets Anavar apart. Contact us today to learn how you can get 25% off your first project. Call them at 234-380-4852. Again, that's 234-380-4852, or visit them at www.anavar.com. Again, that's www.anavar.com. Do you have a question for our guest tonight? Don't feel like calling the show? Not a problem. Email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Again, that's afterhoursam@gmail.com.
You're just sitting there, all high and mighty in your diaper. If anything, you need me. You're a baby.
Come on, Mouse.
Don't you dare take Miles. You can take the children, but you leave me my monkey.
It was a big fine day around the 1st of May. From the stage, what did I see? The big and bad eyes scoping me. That was just the start, baby. Oh, you know that you talk a mean talk, baby. Oh, but you better mean what you say what you mean and don't. Doing the show and the police on the floor. I'm gonna light it up.
And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, and right along with me,
Eric Olsen.
Hey, Eric, man, I know you got a ton of great headlines here, and so if you guys are so inclined, go to twitter.com, search out AM Haunted if you're not already there, if you're not one of our many, many, many thousands of followers, If you have not done that, I urge you now, go to Twitter, look up AM Haunted, and follow along with these headlines.
Exactly. At AM Haunted. That's the America's Most Haunted Twitter account covering all things paranormal, spooky, and amaze-mo.
Spooky stuff.
Alrighty. I did not know this. I think this is about as cool as it gets. New information released, because, it has been 100 years.
Sure.
British intelligence investigated UFOs and other anomalies during World War I.
Really?
That far back.
Wow. So they were getting reports even then.
Yes, they absolutely were.
Now,
In
wasn't
fact,
wasn't that the days of the Red Baron?
Exactly
Okay.
the day of the Red Baron.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the funny you should mention that. One of the big rumors, one of the things they investigated, is there was this big, myth, legend, whatever story that the Red Baron shot down a flying saucer over the battlefields of World War I.
Interesting. Very interesting. I would like to learn more about that.
It's a very interesting article, and it's derived from a new book, actually. And the site is Alien UFO Sightings.
Alien UFO Sightings.
That's the site. And it's based on a new book, and the book is called, I got to get down to the bottom of the article. It's called UFOs of the First World War, Phantom Airships, Balloons, Aircraft, and Other Mysterious Aerial Phenomena. Another one that's not really a UFO, but it's certainly an anomaly. And this one I had heard about, and the Angel of Mons. Have you heard about that?
No.
Early in the war, an angel appeared to British soldiers, and they credit this angel with saving their lives during one of the first brutal battles of World War I.
Really? Very cool.
Now, of course, they're claiming, UFO enthusiasts are saying, it wasn't an angel.
It was UFOs.
It was an alien.
Everybody knows that one. Did it come down and say Nanu by chance? Just saying.
I was just actually scanning it. Yeah, I mean, even at the time, there's a article from the newspaper, from Liverpool Echo, 1915. This is one of the first really big battles of the war. And the legend of Mons, a story of miraculous intervention, call to the spirit of Agincourt Bowman. So, yeah, that's a whole other aspect to it. But they were investigating. The point is that the British government took all this seriously enough that they assigned some of their top intelligence agents to investigate these cases.
Well, you know, that was way before Project Blue Book. You know what I mean? So, I mean, they were having this activity over there, and they were taking it seriously at the time, enough to have agents investigate it. Of course, the article, I'm sure they tell you the conclusion, right? Did they ever find anything to really give a basis?
Well, they found some things, enough to not completely write these things off. Remember, this is very early in the era of aviation.
Well, sure, So it wasn't like it was glut with planes up there. I mean, you had a few planes, but nothing like today, or even close.
Exactly. I mean, the conclusion from the author, this Nigel Watson, who wrote the book, he says, even today, it's all swathed in controversy. Theories about it range from it being a myth. This is talking about the angel sighting specifically.
Well, I like how they jumped to UFO right away. Like, that's not any more fantastic. Are you guys nuts? It was a UFO. It was an alien.
Exactly. It wasn't an angel. Don't be ridiculous. So anyway, it's very interesting, pretty long article. So go check that out. It's kind of like sort of an excerpt from this book. Information. I'm sure there's plenty more in the book. And once again, the book is called UFOs of the First World War. So I thought that was pretty darn interesting to find out that long ago, over 100 years ago now, they were already investigating UFOs. All right, did you hear about this? There's a steady kind of I don't want to say it pours. It kind of
yeah, dribbles maybe would be the word.
Dribbles is a good word. It oozes.
It oozes. It's hot liquid all over everything.
So this is the
Volcano.
Kilauea volcano on the Big Island of Hawaii. Well, there was an event that happened, I guess, just very recently, within the last week or two, where there was literally a waterfall of molten lava pouring out of this crack in the earth into the ocean. If you see that picture, I mean, it really does look like a orange glowing waterfall.
It looks like someone puking to me. I mean, imagine someone that had too much at a party. Blech. I mean, it's got the same projectile path.
What the article said, yes, I do see that. You're right, and especially from that side view.
Yes,
so
it looks like a girl that had too much to drink.
it appears to be mid Ralph.
Exactly.
Technicolor yawn.
Someone's holding the hair back. That whole thing.
Oh, yes. Gee, I've never seen that.
I bet you've never held the hair back for someone, have you?
My wife is not a particularly heavy drinker, so I don't wish to imply that.
Mm-hmm.
But when on occasion she overindulges, even kind of a little, oh my, it's Ralph
The
City.
Floodgates open up.
It is a night at the porcelain throne. And a wrap around.
Yeah, that is never fun, especially if it happens in your car.
Ugh.
Have you ever had someone do that in your car?
Oh my God, that you.
Oh,
did you just open up?
Oh,
a grim memory.
Oh, I've had that happen.
New Year's Eve. Let's see, probably 19. I'm guessing 78. Maybe.
Was it before your porn career?
Yes, that was before my brief porn career. And I was not a star. I
always bring that up, don't I? I always bring that up to the least.
I was merely a crew member. I was not a participant, so I need to be careful about that. And this was Japanese softcore porn.
Boy.
It was really just boobs.
It was just boobs. Maybe just boobs to you, but yeah.
Boobs here and boobs there. Boobs everywhere.
Yeah. You saw them so many times, didn't even look anymore,
Which has a charm of its own. But anyway, back to the tale. Yeah, it was New Year's Eve, and I was with my girlfriend at the time. Pretty serious. I think that was 3 out of the 4 years of college with the same girlfriend. And we'd attended a party, and we had neglected to really eat much dinner, like any, frankly, before we went to the party. Now, it was a pretty early party, so there was a bunch of dip, okay? So there were crackers or whatever, and then it was actually a pretty heavy onion dip.
Oh.
So you know where that
I know exactly where you're going to that one. No.
Onion
in the car, too?
And I mean onion dip, like with actual pieces
real
of
onion
in it.
Oh, you poor man.
This was not simulated onion.
No.
The real McCoy.
No cheap onion powder here.
We attend the party, and of course, and we're drinking and having a gala time. We're drinking all night long, and finally I'm driving home and, navigating the way home, and oh my goodness, I think I hit a bump, and the floodgates opened in that car. It was as if it's like the lava flow.
It sounds like
mentioned.
Yeah.
Of onion dip and alcohol.
It sounds like it was traumatic.
Over everywhere. The entire interior of the car. It's as if you sprayed it with a hose.
Listen to you. This is truly traumatic for you. I mean, you remember it.
So bad that after trying, I'm not exaggerating, I worked on the interior of that car for 8 hours.
Wow. What kind of car was it?
And cleaning. It was an Impala station wagon that my parents had passed down to me.
Sure.
Nice big car.
Sure. Lots of puke room. Yeah, lots of puke room in
All
there.
kinds of room. Terrible on gas, but it was fun I could haul a bunch of people around. And you had that big back seat. It was a station wagon, a real station wagon. So I worked on it 8 hours. First, kind of. You do the rough, just get everything out.
I
right?
hear you. I got to rough it up. Yeah.
Get it out. Then the shampooing, and I shampooed it, and I shampooed it. I shampooed it over and over and over and over and over and over and over. A week later, it still reeked to the highest heavens as if I hadn't done anything. I had to sell the car.
Yeah. It stunk so bad you sold the car.
Stunk so bad.
What did the next owner say?
Get rid of the car.
What happened? Did you have to drop the price substantially, or did you just not say anything?
I had to sell it to someone with no sense of smell.
There you go. You got to find that one guy that can't smell nothing. He shows up, great car. Yeah. Great deal, too. Well, what's wrong with it? Oh.
It was traumatic.
It sounds like
imagine it a week later when it's just been,
And now, were you in California at this? No, you were in Ohio at this time.
No, I was in Ohio. It was just awful. It was just horrifying. All right, so let's move on.
Oh, yeah, let's move on from that traumatic puke fest that you had going on in your life.
All right, the next one's mainly just a super cool image, but it is a cool image. It's from an article about hiking in the very remote Italian Alps. A lot of people don't realize that the Alps do dip down into Italy, and that's just as mountainous as Switzerland and southern Germany.
Beautiful picture.
And Austria. And there's literally a hole in the rock through which the picture was taken. It's a circular hole, and you're looking off at mountains at medium distance through this hole.
It's a mountainous glory hole.
It's a mountainous glory hole. That's exactly what it is for alternative lifestyle giants.
Sorry.
Or mountain trolls.
That's right. Mountain trolls that don't want to be a committed relationship.
Alternative lifestyle.
We're not judging mountain trolls.
All
we're not
right.
judging.
Well, you knew this was going to happen, though. I had hopes that maybe it wouldn't.
Well, if you're talking about Sharknado 5, I'm right there with
that's
you.
exactly what I'm talking about. Sharknado 5.
Yeah.
The go-ahead the deal has been signed. There will be a Sharknado 5 coming to Sci-Fi this summer, and every other one has been in July. So I think July of 2017 will be...
Oh, great.
I got to tell you, Sharknado 4 just didn't do it for me. I was someone who really did kind of get the appeal.
Yeah, but then it got...
that very first one, and even the second one, by the third one,
Now it's just a running joke.
No,
now it's just a running Hollywood joke is all it is. It has to be at this point. Why would you make so many bad movies in a row?
It's crazy go nuts. But hey, it's a second career for Ian and Tara, so good for them.
Well, Tara Reid, she need to kind of come back in some way, I guess.
There she is.
She's still cute, though, I'm telling you.
Looking lean and tan in her very skimpy bikini.
She's still looking good, man. I'm not going to take that away from her at all.
She's over 40, so good for her.
Wow, interesting. Well, hey, you know what? So am I. So hats off to you, Tara Reid.
Hats off.
Hats off.
40 doesn't sound all that old.
No. 40 is young.
All right. As I'm sure you know, you being a horror movie aficionado,
I am.
A lot of these films, B, C, D, budget films,
sure,
come out only on demand or digitally these days, right?
Yep,
they don't even go.
It's a whole new life now.
Right. They don't go into theaters at all. Well, here's one, and it's called Devil in the Dark, and it's coming out in March, and it has a tremendous, I love this poster.
I do too. That's a creepy pose. A little kid, big devil behind him, with appearing to be giant horns on his head. That's going to be either a really good movie or a really crappy movie. I don't see that one being an in-betweener.
I have to agree with you. So my hope is that the sensibility displayed in how cool the poster is will apply to the film as well.
I sure hope so, because my Lord, I've been sitting through some stinkers lately.
Either way, Devil in the Dark.
Devil in the Dark
Will
coming
be
to
available in March.
Devil in the Dark coming to a mountainous glory hole near you. Don't miss it.
Alternative lifestyle.
Oh, that's right.
mountain troll.
That's right. Alternative lifestyle glory hole in the French Alps. But anyhow, yeah. Well, it appears that we have more Nick and Katrina news, man.
Every week we let people know, and boy, they never let us down. It's every week my preview of the paranormal lockdown tweet is almost always the biggest tweet of the week.
Yeah, well, we've had them on the show numerous times. We're about due to get them back on.
We really are.
We
really
are.
are.
About every 6 months, we have to have
Sure.
our Nick and Katrina fix, and that's just the way it is.
So this week, and of course the show is now on TLC. It moved over from our buds at Destination America to TLC, and they have a bigger audience now because TLC is in many more homes than is Destination America. Tomorrow night's show is they visit the White Hill Mansion in New Jersey, and the ghosts there predate the American Revolution.
Wow, that'll be a really interesting episode.
Goes
Check
back to the
that
early
out.
1700s.
Definitely be checking that out over there on TLC. Glad it's on TLC because I, unfortunately, like most of America, don't get Destination America. That I've been getting a lot of messages from our listening clientele. Well, where can I find this channel? And folks, if you don't, a lot of times it's included in a premium package of your cable package. It's not.
Yes.
A lot of them do not consider that to be a normal quote-unquote channel. So if you want your Destination America, contact your cable operator or satellite operator, and I'm sure they can hook you up if you want the Destination America. I did some
usually
research.
it's that second tier. You know, it's not basic cable. It's that next tier up.
I called all the cable companies on your behalf, all of our beautiful listeners, smartest listeners in radio, I swear to God. Because you guys do not disappoint. You guys are very, very engaging, and I love hearing from you. And I did some digging, and everybody, all the different operators, all said second-tier package.
Exactly. All right, now check out this cool animated logo for my buds at Dinner with a Ghost.
With a Ghost.
Check out the animated logo.
Look at that. That is cool. That's a GIF. That is.
Do you know who designed that logo?
Who did?
I did.
You designed that logo?
I did.
Really?
I did.
Well, we need one for
now,
ours.
I am not the artist who created it, but I came up with the design, and then an artist created it.
Yeah, that's right. You're involved with the Dinner of the Ghost Boys.
Well, I'm trying to help them out.
You know,
We're trying to put together a tour, maybe even, who knows, maybe even a TV show.
Wow, you got bromance going.
Oh, well, maybe.
You know, that's not wrong with a good bromance.
All right, I find this next one fascinating. So, if you're on the West Coast, if you're in Nevada, if you're usually it's either California, so far Nevada or Arizona. Keep an eye out for any Dinner with a Ghost events because they are truly amazing. They really are. We had them on the show, I don't know, a year ago maybe?
Yeah, we should get them back on the show. I'd like to get an
We
update
should.
on what they're doing. And we had them on, a year and a half ago.
Yeah,
very,
it's been a while.
Very nice guys, very engaging guys, too. I mean, they're very passionate about what they do. So, definitely check that up. You get a chance. And
They're
of
very
course,
big on history,
they
a lot
are.
of things that we care about.
And good food. Evidently, they serve some of the
absolutely.
best.
Good food. And what they're talking about doing for the tour, the Presidents and Kings tour, which will take place at various presidential homes. The King's part is a little more abstract. It's more, Elvis or Martin Luther King, stuff like that.
Sure.
So, but what they're going to do, what the plan is to research the favorite meal of whoever the most important personage associated with that home. So obviously if it's Lincoln's boyhood home, it would be Lincoln. So what was his favorite meal? What was served to him at that time? And then that's what the meal will be at these events. So you get historical culinary history as well.
Now, a lot of that also is to elicit a response, am I correct, from whatever
Yes.
ghost may be around,
Right.
that using the food
Trigger,
as a
the
trigger
trigger.
object to maybe get them to interact with
Exactly.
okay, that makes perfect sense. Sounds really cool. Again,
I
check
think
them
so, yeah.
out. They're on the interwebs. Go ahead, check them out. Dinner with a Ghost.
Yep, and that's the brand new animated logo. All right, this next one I find just fascinating. They are actually putting together a plan, at least looking into the feasibility, and so far there's no engineering aspect that they don't think that they can overcome, to send an unmanned, of course, probe not only outside of our solar system, but to our closest solar system near us, which is actually only like 4.5 light years away.
Sure.
And compared to the universe, that's right next door.
Oh,
But
I see that solar system. It wants to get probed. I see
But-
it.
Exactly. And there's a planet there that is right in the Goldilocks zone, which means it's not too hot, it's not too cold.
Just
it's
right.
about the right distance from the star. And they think that one planet, which is called Proxima b, is the best chance thus far of all these exoplanets that they found. Now they found thousands of them. But this one that's very close to us, in galactic measurement, is the most likely, the most Earth-like, and the most likely to have life like on Earth. So we're going to be sending a probe. We got to figure out how to get that probe to up to at least 20% of the speed of light.
Wow, that's huge.
really fast.
Yeah, that's real fast. That's a big jump. I don't even think they're up to 10% as we speak, are they, for advancement? I mean, it's pretty low. Pretty low. I mean, still 10% of the speed of light's still booking, but 20% is absolutely nuts.
10% would be 18,000 miles per second.
Wow.
That would be 10%.
Wow.
Because the speed of light is
God.
186,000 miles per second.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I thought riding the bullet train was quick.
Per second.
Yeah, per
Think of that.
second. Wow, that's insane.
But anyway, they think they may be able to get this thing figured out where they can send a probe all the way over there. The other problem to deal with, though, is once it's there, even when you're sending the information back from there at the speed of light, it'll still take 4 years to get here.
Yes, that's the thing. I mean, in space travel, speed of light is really nothing. I mean, that's like driving 55 on the highway.
Exactly.
So they really got to ramp it up to get anywhere within our lifetimes.
Exactly. So it's difficult, but that's the first time I've heard that there's any serious thought about sending an actual probe that would then retrieve information.
Yeah.
We now have Voyager, which was sent out in the 70s, is now outside of our solar system, but we have no hope that it will ever send us back anything. It's just out there now. This one we want to get information back from, so that's what's so different about that. All right. Yet another film coming out. This one is also going directly to video on demand or digital, and it's called Ghosts of Darkness. What's interesting about this is it's taking what has become kind of the routine that we see in all these TV shows, the paranormal investigation TV shows, and it's kind of grafting a horror movie onto that. All right, so what happens if all hell breaks loose while they're in there paranormal investigating? And
Sure.
that's the premise of this film, Ghosts of Darkness.
Okay. That actually sounds kind of good. And the premise sounds really good.
It could be.
And
yeah,
we will have to
because
see.
we know all about those
We
paranormal
do.
investigations,
We do.
don't we?
It can be tricky. It can be kind of scary. You got to watch yourself. Got to watch yourself while you're running around looking for those ghosts.
Oh, my. We have bumped up to the top of the hour, haven't we?
Yeah, we got to get out of here. We got to play the Fox News. We come back. We're at Fox News. We talk Killing Bigfoot. Don't go anywhere. Be right back right after this.
Fox News Radio, I'm Kathleen Maloney. Iran could face repercussions from recent hostile actions.
Nothing is off the table.
White House sources say the president will impose new sanctions against Iran for its recent test of a medium-range ballistic missile as soon as tomorrow. The White House insists the test violates a UN Security Council resolution, though it does not abrogate the 2015 Iran nuclear deal brokered by the Obama administration. The sanctions will target more than 20 Iranian entities for terrorism or missile-related activities. The White House had to get creative with the application of sanctions for fear of itself violating the nuclear agreement.
Fox's John Roberts. The Trump administration is revising some U.S. sanctions preventing American companies from exporting certain electronic equipment to Russia. They were imposed by the Obama administration after American intelligence agencies concluded that Russia meddled in the presidential election. Defense Secretary James Mattis is making his first official trip to Asia, where tensions are high.
He arrived in South Korea today and will visit Japan. While all eyes are on Iran and its medium-range ballistic missile test Sunday, the Pentagon is even more concerned about North Korea and the possibility that it is close to achieving an intercontinental ballistic missile. North Korea has been accused of sharing missile technology with Iran in the past.
Fox's Jennifer Griffin. A message to Senate Democrats who are considering blocking Supreme Court nominee Neil Gorsuch.
My hope is that my Democratic colleagues will put aside the partisan anger of their base and instead vote to confirm a good man, a good judge, and a worthy successor to Justice Scalia.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Gorsuch has been meeting with senators ahead of his confirmation hearing. You're listening to Fox News Radio. Fair and balanced.
We first opened about 10 years ago. We were small, just a few of us, but it was exciting. I always dreamt of having my own business. It was kind of slow at first, but things started picking up. We had big plans, but in our wildest dreams, we never thought we'd have this much work. Yeah, with so many businesses caught off guard by the storm, Reed Waste Management has never been busier.
What will become of your business after a disaster? Nearly 2/3 of businesses aren't prepared for an emergency, and 40% of businesses that experience a disaster never recover. Make an emergency plan now, before it's too late. For a free online tool that helps you develop an emergency plan to keep your business up and running should disaster strike, visit ready.gov/business. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the American Red Cross, and the Ad Council.
The president expressing displeasure over violence at UC Berkeley.
A peaceful protest against Milo Yiannopoulos' planned speech at Berkeley turned into a riot. People threw fireworks, metal police barricades, and other items at the cops. Afterward, President Trump tweeted that if the campus doesn't allow free speech and practices violence against people who have different points of view, then no federal funds. California members of Congress were quick to respond. Representative Barbara Lee, whose district includes the campus, said the president can't blackmail universities and that his empty threats are an abuse of power. Congressman Mark DeSaulnier called it foolish, and Republican Congressman Ed Royce said those on work study or scholarships shouldn't be punished because of a select few, and he said he'd fight efforts to defund the university. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
There are reports that a 21-year-old student who supports President Trump was beaten up at Berkeley. Police arrested 2 alleged attackers. The victim says he helped organize yesterday's planned appearance by the controversial Breitbart news editor that sparked the riot on campus. President Trump is looking for ways to give more power to religious-based businesses.
I think there's several businesses and several institutions, Catholic institutions and others, that have been mandated or apparently attempted to mandate certain things that they may or may not do or how they have to treat their employees.
White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer. Critics are worried about possible discrimination against the LGBT community if organizations are permitted to deny goods and services based on religious beliefs. California goes from scorched to soggy. Water managers say snow drifts in the Sierra Nevadas are at drought-busting levels, with the most snow recorded since 1995. Snowpack provides a third of water supplies to the state, but Governor Jerry Brown is still waiting until the end of the rainy season in April before lifting drought emergencies. I'm Kathleen Maloney, Fox News Radio.
And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me,
Eric Olsen.
Man, oh man, we have a huge show on tap, and I gotta say, I enjoy different discussions about different paranormal stuff, whether no matter what the controversy or not controversial, whatever. But I really enjoyed watching the episode that they graced us with to watch Killing Bigfoot. And we have, yeah, we got two of the great guys on here from that show. Eric, you'll fill them in on who they are, but I just want to let you know, everyone know that, wow, you get a chance to watch the show, definitely do it. It's going to be on Destination America. You're not going to want to miss it. It's really damn good.
It is enthralling, and I want to know what happens. I've only seen that very first episode, and that episode premieres this Saturday, February 4th at 10/9 Central. Yes, deep in the heart of Texas, Bobby Hamilton, his friend Jim Lansdale, and their team of monster hunters known as the Gulf Coast Bigfoot Research Organization, GCBRO, have decided to take the hunt for Bigfoot with deadly seriousness. Across the South, the hunters believe a sleeker, faster, and more aggressive type of Bigfoot is attacking people's farm animals, pets, and even threatening humans. In the all-new series, Killing Bigfoot, GCBRO is on a mission to help families terrorized by Bigfoot and prove once and for all that the fabled creature exists by, very controversially, killing one specimen and providing a body of definitive scientific proof. The 6-episode first season of Killing Bigfoot premieres, as I said, Saturday, February 4th at 10/9 Central. With us this evening, we have the star of the show, Jim Lansdale, and the creator-director, Peter von Puttkamer. I love that name. We've had some cool names on lately. Let me give you a little bit of quick info on each of them. On Jim, a manager of several different businesses across the U.S., Jim has been hunting Bigfoot for over 20 years. He's the co-founder of the GCB.
There you go, you got her.
His experience as a soldier in Vietnam has left him with a sense of discipline and authority. He keeps the hunters in line on the hunts and on the stakeouts and maintains a strict code of gun safety on all hunts. He is head of investigations and has spent months on end in the backwoods of Louisiana and Texas. Jim first encountered Bigfoot as one of his son's deer feeders and witnessed it take off on all fours. He says Bigfoot, at least in the South, moves bipedally, but when pressed will take off and run on all fours at speed. 10 years ago, he found he wounded a monster, tracking it, and then DNA sampling its blood, connecting it to the great ape family. But a body is still needed for ultimate proof. He takes his son Jake out on investigations, and they and the rest of the GCBRO team are united by one goal: to hunt and kill a Bigfoot for science. And Peter, the creator and director of the show, and many, 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 many others, he is an award-winning television and independent documentary filmmaker with special interests in wildlife, travel, adventure, cryptozoology, and indigenous peoples worldwide. He has executive produced, written, directed dozens of international award-winning series and specials over the last 30 years. His production company, Griffin Productions, has created factual programming for Discovery, Animal Planet, History, BBC, National Geographic, Discovery, and on and on and on and on, and everyone and their mother. These programs have won more than 80 international awards. Whether working on heartfelt personal stories, socio-political issues, or broad adventure-based entertainment documentaries, filmmaking for von Puttkamer has always been a blend of mind, body, and spirit. Wow, that was a mouthful. Welcome to the program, Jim and Peter.
Hey, how's it going? Peter here.
Fantastic. That is why Eric's the best in the business right there. He didn't even stumble.
Nice read.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here, guys. How are you all?
Hey,
Fantastic.
Jim. Hey, Peter. You know, we're not new to the whole Bigfoot thing, having the show that we have. We've heard a lot of different angles, but you guys are unique in the fact that the body's got to be on the slab, and that is really the crux of the matter, because we can photograph it, we can do whatever we want, but until we have a specimen to study, Really, I agree with you guys. There's got to be something that we can sink our teeth, so to speak, into.
Yep. Jim, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure, Peter. Without a corpse, there's no identification. There's no DNA that you can get, or pictures, or hair hanging from a tree limb. If you don't have the animal and you can't go pull the hair off that corpse and take a blood sample off a corpse, then you have no idea what you really have. Mm-hmm. And the only way there's going to be discovery is with a corpse. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
I've listened to this. We could do it with pictures. We could do it with DNA from hair samples and so forth. It cannot be done that way. We've done this. I've been doing this for a long, long time. I've had the hair samples. I've had the blood. I've had the DNA, so I know. Everything is inconclusive. We've got to have a corpse, bottom line.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, you're absolutely correct in that they need a corpse, but would a live specimen be better than a dead specimen?
Well, I'm sure, but how are we going to catch it?
Well, people, of course, getting ready for the show, I did not realize this is such a controversial issue in the Bigfoot community, because it seems like there's two sides, kill and not to kill. And,
sure.
And I didn't know it was that deeply rooted, because I'm not that deep into these communities, but people were saying, well, why don't they just dart him on a trank gun, Bigfoot, and take it down and cage it and bring it into the lab?
Right.
Any thoughts on that?
Well, sure. Go ahead, Peter.
Okay, I'll give you a take on that. I've done a lot of wildlife shows. A couple of years ago, I was in Africa, and we were tranquilizing lions and putting collars on them. And, you got to have a whole veterinary team with you. Mm-hmm. So people know how much dosage there is to put into a lion so you don't kill it to start with, or too little that the lion kills you, right? Yeah. So now picture 10 hunters with trank guns going into the woods. These things are not that reliable. They don't shoot that far.
Yeah.
They are, you have to know the dosage. And if an animal is worked up, and I've seen footage of a hippo where they didn't have the right dosage, and a hippo people have known about since Roman times, okay?
Yeah.
So everyone knows what it is, but they still don't know what it takes to take down a hippo and put it to sleep when it's angry and enraged and coming at you. And this guy almost got eaten. Yeah, you can look it up. His name's John Hoffmeyer, and there's amazing footage online of this wide open hippo mouth about to chomp down on the guy's leg. So yeah, you take a certain risk with large animals trying to tranquilize them.
Well, and another problem too, Peter, is that after you do darting, and we hunt at night, and for several reasons why we do, but the main purpose that we hunt at night is because we know there's not going to be anybody on the property, because we only hunt on private property, that is going to be walking around without a flashlight at night. Okay? So if we do happen to dart this particular animal, he has an opposable thumb, so he can actually extract the dart if he wanted to. And this is going to take a matter of minutes, maybe 10, maybe 15 minutes for the drug to activate. He can be a long ways. And you can imagine at night in a thicket, it's dark. How would you find him?
Yeah, well, very good question. How would you find him? And again, right. Pete brought up a great point that this is an unknown creature. How would we know how much to give him to sedate him properly so he doesn't, rip you guys apart? Because we're talking about what's the average weight has been described as what, Jim?
Well, down here in the South where we are, probably 350 to 600, maybe 700 pounds would be an extremely large one. But most of the males that I've seen, probably around 350 pounds.
Wow.
But that's a lot of animal, and it's all muscle, too.
Yeah, we're not talking about just, like your overweight guy running around. We're talking about something that's hugely muscular. That can rip you apart with pretty much very little effort. Now, Pete, when you were, when what gave you the urge to make a show like this? I mean, knowing, and you had to know it was going to be controversial going into it.
Sure, it was, but we've been doing cryptozoology shows since the late '90s, and we did a show called Sasquatch Odyssey: The Hunt for Bigfoot, which was a bit of a history of all the hunters since the 1950s, like 4 old guys at that time who've been at it and had never, gotten the proof that they wanted. And so a lot of the cryptozoology stories we've explored around the world, whether it's chupacabra, or Jersey Devil, a lot of the problem is the proof, and you don't even meet that many eyewitnesses who can give you corroborating evidence. So what I really liked about this story was that you have communities in the South that are genuinely, like, there's a lot of people seeing something out there. And even when we were not filming and you're down at the subway picking up a sandwich and there's a girl behind the counter going, "Did you hear there was a Bigfoot hit by a car down at Kasatchi?" We're going, "Really?" And we're like, "Oh, maybe we better get down there." And so things are like happening. It's like The Walking Dead or Stranger Things. There's things going on all the time. The people are frightened, and GCBRO is there to help them. And I just found it a fascinating story, and the fact that these guys are, they're not chumps. Jim and his crew there and Bobby's crew, they are seasoned woodsmen, hunters. They've been in wartime situations. They're been in the National Guard. There's people with engineering degrees and
sure,
law enforcement. So it's a pretty serious group, and I like that whole aspect of the story.
Well, yeah, it doesn't seem like, it's Joe Sixpack going out there with a 12 gauge, just sitting on the hood of his truck hoping a Bigfoot comes along. This is a little bit bigger operation, more sophisticated. Watching the episode, you guys seem to utilize a lot of night vision gear. You'd use tactical maneuvers. You use tree stands. I mean, it's a very well thought out, well executed hunt, if you want to use that word, so to speak, a hunt to get a Bigfoot. Now, when you are hunting a Bigfoot, is a lot like hunting. See, I'm a hunter as well. I'm a whitetail hunter. I'm also a black bear hunter. Is it a lot like hunting for whitetail deer in a lot of senses?
Probably so in a fashion, because what we're doing is actually still hunting, and it's like an ambush. And most deer hunters, that's what they do. They find a tree or a stand, and when they hunt, we're waiting for the deer to come by.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do is ambush the deer when he comes in that particular area. Well, that's kind of what we do, but it's at nighttime, so it's a completely different ballgame. We hunt in thicket. There's a huge canopy of trees, so it's dark all the time. So you have to rely on your senses, your hearing, and, of course, what little eyesight you do have at night. And we're laying an ambush. That's what we're doing. And we set up on trails that we know that these animals use to go into these people's homes. So we have an advantage that way. But I want to tell you something. In the last month, I've been on 3 calls of people having problems. One lady walked out her door. There was a 9-footer less than 35 foot from her.
Whoa.
And just scared the heck out of her. I was with 2 ladies I met 2 weeks ago that are afraid to go outside because of what's out there. And we're talking Bigfoot. They've seen them. They've had sightings. And then one lady's afraid to walk to her mailbox. So she drives there because she's been screamed at. And the last time she was down there, she got out to get her mail. And then wood knocking occurred, 3 wood knocks, which we attribute that to a Bigfoot. And it just scares them to death. Scratching on your screens. I've taken pictures at their windows. So, it's easy to say, well, let's let them live. But when it's you, then they're coming around your home and terrorizing your family and your kids to the point that you're afraid to go outside. Something needs to be done.
Agreed. Totally agree with you there. I mean, if these are a violent animal, and it's really hindering their day-to-day lives and being afraid to live where they live, absolutely something has to be done. Now, Peter, when you're shooting this, what's it like to be in the dark with these guys and shooting this real, with the camera and everything else? Are you ever afraid? I mean, do you ever kind of get the heebie-jeebies?
Well, I've been in some fairly hairy situations on our shoots. I've been on the ground tracking tigers in Nepal, on the ground walking into the forest where the forest elephants are, and the guides are telling you to pick a tree because there's a good chance you'll be picked up and squashed like a bug by one of these elephants. So I've been in some situations like that. But I think overall, I mean, we're, especially when we did the pilot initially, you know, we were a little cautious, you know, because we hadn't worked with Jim and all the guys yet, and we were just wondering how this was all going to go down. And you know, and you know, guns were loaded. You know, people didn't have rounds in the chamber, but guns were loaded, and we were heading out there. But you know, as I said, Jim takes a lot of care with ensuring that people, don't walk around with loaded guns in camp, or that he sets people down and they don't get up until he's notified them, you know, and they connect by walkie and that sort of thing. So that part of it, you know, we're starting to feel pretty confident about. But the creature, I mean, there is a heebie-jeebie nature to this thing where, you know, all of a sudden, there's signs, there's things happening. We have surveillance lights come on, and one of our producers and an assistant really saw something that moved across a courtyard, and all the hunters and the film crew's off somewhere else, and this thing's moving across the yard about the size of a horse trailer, which is about 8 feet high.
Wow.
So it kind of blows your mind, you know, if you're seeing something and you're trying to put it together and you're trying to rule out hoaxes because you know that everybody in this yard has a gun, and some fool is not going to put on a suit and walk around at night, you know, in Texas.
Not unless they want to find themselves. Not unless they want to find themselves bagged and tagged, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
I wanted to back up a little bit, just as far as the I guess the philosophy of it. So my understanding is, you guys are coming at the approach, the justification, whatever terminology you want to use, as far as taking this approach, this deadly approach, this hunter's approach, based on two things. And one of them is basically what you were just saying now, that there are people, generally we're talking about the rural South, who feel threatened, who are having interactions that frighten them, frighten their animals, damage their animals, farm animals, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one side of the coin, that people need to be protected, that these are genuinely, if not dangerous to humans, at least very frightening to humans, and perhaps, as I understand it, dangerous directly to humans. The other side of it is, as we also kind of were mentioning before, that we need, from a scientific standpoint, we need an actual body. And for whatever reason, we just haven't been able to find one thus far that had died of other causes, other than a hunter. That just hasn't happened for whatever reason. And that's been, of course, very much debated. And it's one of the biggest roadblocks for non-believers is, well, why can't we ever find a body? We find bodies of this and that and everywhere, and why not a Bigfoot? So we understand that it's very unlikely, just given the vastness of wilderness and whatnot, that you would run into something before it had been consumed by the woods and by predators and by scavengers and all that kind of thing, and that it would disappear rather quickly. And in fact, we've even seen studies of it. So again, my understanding is that the rationale is kind of based on two prongs. It's the scientific need so that we can, in fact, determine what these things are, and obviously also finally determine that they do, in fact, exist. And the other is more of a protection type argument based on helping people out who are frightened and who are having damage and animals. Do you think that there would be any rationale out there that would persuade you that, maybe that you just haven't heard yet, that this approach wouldn't be necessary? Or are you convinced of that, and that those two rationales you think are more than enough to move ahead and to establish it on moral and scientific grounds?
Well, me personally, yes, I think that's the only way, is with a corpse. And what's the difference whether I shoot it or we found it on the highway being run over by a truck?
Yeah.
And, this is what gets me, the people that don't understand that. They all agree we need a corpse, but we can't agree on how we're going to get this corpse. And people say, well, why don't we do a live capture? I'm all ears, guys. If you can capture one of them, let's build the trap and let's go do it. But it can't be done. I've been doing this 25 years, and it is, a whitetail has nothing on this particular animal. But, that's the only way I know to do it is to put one on a slab and let science do their thing so we know what it is. And another thing, too, you know as well as I do, the habitat that we have, and I'm sure in the areas that you hunt, you've seen it disappear. And over a period of time, it does disappear.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it does. The habitat's going to get smaller and smaller as we go, too, forcing Bigfoot to get more contact with human beings and really becoming a physical threat more than anything else as well. Because the food source will start to dry up, and it will have to move to alternative methods of food.
Mm-hmm. Well, another thing, too, a big crop, excuse me, Peter, let me say this and I'll be done. A big crop down here in the South is pine trees, okay? And what they do, they cut all the hardwood, destroy it, poison it, cut it, whatever they do, and they plant pine trees because they make money off of it. There's no money in hardwood. And what they've done, they've decimated our forest. It's nothing but pine trees. And there's very few animals that can live on pine cones and pine bark.
Yeah.
So we're forcing these animals to come into people's homes in their areas to find food to eat.
Yeah, and that's true with the... go ahead, Peter.
So I was just going to say, guys, it's kind of ironic and part of the, the story that's really interesting is that these guys, they get labeled as murderers and everything else, but Jim and Bobby and Dawn and, all the guys on the team, they're very conscious of wilderness habitat. They don't want to see the destruction of the forest through, fracking or too much logging. And so there's kind of an environmental message in this, and that is if you destroy the habitat, large predators, large animals will come out, and come into our habitat, right, and interact with people or eat their pets or farm animals, and that's what they believe is happening in a lot of these cases. And I just wanted to add, and, there's a lot of intriguing evidence that we got along the way. And one of this, I've done a lot of work with Native Americans, and I was interested to talk to the tribe down in southeast Texas, Alabama Coushatta tribe, and they were like, yeah, we know there's things out there. It's the area called the Big Thicket. It's like 200-300 square miles of woodlands and swamps. And, they said, it's been there for thousands of years. We call it a chuba, and it's like the cannibal people. So they're afraid of it, actually. Other places in the Pacific Northwest, it's the spirit being or whatever. But down there, this creature they're afraid of.
Yeah,
and people have been seeing it.
And we'll
people have been seeing it.
Yeah, we'll get to that after the break about some of the stories that I've been told about Bigfoot behaving badly. Where it has been a legitimate threats happening to human beings to the point to where one individual is being carried off by one of them. Was this one of the stories I heard? And of course, we'll get into that after the break because. They're not cuddly and warm and, hey, let's be your friend. It's not the Harry and the Hendersons Bigfoot we're worried about. It's the starving Bigfoot that will do whatever it takes to get food. And, it has to go through you, it will. Much like a bear. Yep. Same thing in my area. We've had a real run of black bears coming into town and wolves. In fact, we have thousands of timber wolves up here, and that's because of their habitat is shrinking. They're coming into town to actually, we had one kill a deer right on the main street of our town, right in front of everybody. A wolf took it right down. And of course, they're endangered species, so we can't do anything about it. But that's a whole nother show on its own. But if that's happening, if that's happening to them, it's happening to Bigfoot as well.
Absolutely.
And and it's going to keep happening. But we got to run a break here. When we come back, we're going to jump into this Bigfoot behaving badly. We're going to talk about some of the scarier tales of what makes them feel that maybe Bigfoot is not from Harry and the Hendersons. Maybe it really is something to be afraid of. Be right back right after this. Hey everybody, this is Joel Sturgis, and did you know that After Hours AM and America's Most Haunted have a great new website out there? You're going to want to visit America's-Most-Haunted.com. There you can get all the new content from all the writers for America's Most Haunted, as well as the great haunted headlines everybody loves each and every week, as well as catch After Hours AM live right there, along with podcasts, past shows, and get to know your hosts, as well as contact us all in one stop. You're going to love it. You're not going to want to go anywhere else. So come to America's-Most-Haunted.com today.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
I got a rather serious problem over here.
All right, what are we looking at?
Cranky mother-in-law asleep on the couch in the man cave.
Dear God.
It gets worse.
That's impossible.
She's passed out on the remote.
I stand corrected.
What do I do?
Okay, I want you to grab a Torrin Big Red hydraulic bottle jack.
Okay.
Now you wedge that bad boy in under your mother-in-law and crank her up skyward.
It's working. And got the remote.
Great. Now grab that Torrin Big Red 2-ton folding shop crane and put that woman on wheels.
And away we go.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Anavar Media LCC is a dedicated team of professionals committed to helping business development scale and protect their websites, mobile applications, enterprise software solutions in the Northeast Ohio area. Locally owned since 2012, our client-centered values truly sets Anavar apart. Contact us today to learn how you can get 25% off your first project. Call them at 234-380-4852. Again, that's 234-380-4852, or visit them at www.anavar.com. Again, that's www.anavar.com.
Hello, welcome to the Burger Barn.
No, yeah, I still understand you. Let's try it again.
Okay. Hello, welcome to the Burger Barn.
Much better.
This man is learning how to become a professional intercom announcer. Yes, there are hundreds of immediate openings for annoying and inarticulate people just like you. And after just 6 short weeks at the School of Intercom Announcing, you too will be ready to frustrate thousands. We'll teach you how to blow into a microphone, how to obscure key words in important announcements.
This is the final boarding call for singing, wireless horn, mortifying, and Google City.
With your PA degree from SIA, you'll be on your way to low-paying jobs in discount stores, malls, airports, even restaurants.
Interface data link. Party of 4, please.
The School of Intercom Announcing. Just dial 1-800-245-60 today.
Do you have a question for our guest tonight? Don't feel like calling the show? Not a problem. Email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Again, that's afterhoursam@gmail.com.
Up, let the rumors spread. Don't you try to catch my blind.
And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me,
Eric Olsen.
Man, we are talking about Bigfoot behaving badly this half hour, and I jokingly say that, but it actually is a scary thing. Jim and Peter both could tell us, they could attest to that there's a lot of stories out there about Bigfoot attacking people. In fact, there was a researcher, I didn't get the whole story, but his name was Dallas, I do believe, that was being carried off by one of them. And I'm sure, Jim, you probably heard this story. And he was being carried off by one of them, and he carried a .45 long Colt as his side. it was an old Ruger Super Blackhawk, and he was being carried off by this Bigfoot. And he had the presence of mind to grab that Blackhawk off his side, and he was over the shoulder of this Bigfoot like he was a piece of cordwood. He was carrying him off. Allegedly, now this is a story that was told to me, he had presence of mind to grab that Super Blackhawk, thumb it back because it's a single-action firearm, thumb it back, put it against something solid, and pull the trigger. At that point, the Bigfoot screamed and ran off into the woods, but had he not shot that Bigfoot, he was confident it was going to take him away and kill him. He was very confident of that.
Well, the thing about it is there's a lot of tales about Bigfoot and being aggressive and being cannibalistic. And, of course, the North American Indians have always said that, some tribes, that they would come in and steal the children and the squaws and haul them off, take them off, kill them, and eat them. And then it gets down to that they're cannibalistic. So not only were they eating the dead, but they were also eating and killing people. And we think that that's happened several times here in the United States. In some of these parks where people have been reported missing and we can't find a trace of them anywhere. Mm-hmm. And everybody knows that you can take a cadaver dog and find anything. I mean, you should be able to find remnants of clothes, shoes, or something. But when you find nothing, and we're not talking about one or two, we're talking about quite a few people, then it's something's going on. There's signs hanging down in the big thicket where Peter was talking about that I've got pictures of that warns you, has pictures of people up that are missing, that have been missing in that big thicket area there. And those guys down there that I know say it's Bigfoot getting them. Now, whether he is or not, I don't know, because I haven't ever found it to be true. But I know that's what they claim.
Well,
we're not talking.
Yeah. We're not talking about, I mean, there has to be different species of Bigfoot. Is there different species? Some are more aggressive than others? I mean, what are we kind of talking about here?
Well, Joe, I think that we get through some inbreeding. And through the inbreeding, you start losing digits. And what we're talking about is bottleneck inbreeding. And we have a certain amount of females that are out of a certain male that are bred back to that certain male over a period of time in the offspring. And first thing they do is lose digits. And then it starts being the mental part of it. So we have 3-toe, 4-toe, and 5-toe Bigfoot. We believe, from finding tracks around these homes and what I've seen, and that the 3-toes are the ones that are the most aggressive, that cause these problems around these homes and scare these people. Mm-hmm. I've thermal many times down there at this one lady's house. I'd seen this one, and he had an underbite. His bottom chin jutted out. And he would follow me around at times during the daytime. I would see him, and I finally got a good picture of it. I'll say a good picture. I got a picture of him at a distance. But he would hide from me when I turned to look. But and he's 3-toed. And I have a picture of him sitting down, and you can actually count 3 toes. And as a matter of fact, you can look at his face and head. He doesn't look like he's quite all there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He is the sling blade of Big Feet.
Leave him alone.
That's right.
Leave him alone. He's just a boy. Leave him alone. French Bob.
And then when you get where you're afraid to go to your mailbox, so you drive your car down there, and then you're afraid to go outside and mow the grass because you're afraid a Bigfoot will get you or they'll scare you or whatever. And, I mean, I run into this all the time. And this lady that saw this 9-footer, her porch sits about 3.5, 4 foot off the ground. And she walked out, and she's not very tall, probably 5 foot. She said she was looking directly into its eyes. And so it had to be a 9 foot tall. And we measured with a tape and everything. And it was standing on the side of her husband's pickup. And she saw the whole thing, 35 foot from her.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's even one of my cameras. And people said, why don't you put a camera system up? Well, I did. And it moved my camera. And it happens all the time. I've had sticks laid against cameras. I've had cameras skewed, They would just move them around. So,
well, Jim,
we've done what we can.
What if someone is confronted by a Bigfoot, and let's just say they do own firearms? What would be the appropriate gun? What's your caliber of choice? I mean, obviously you can't hit him with a .22, and I wouldn't even go after something that big with a .30-30. Where would you be at on that?
Well, we shoot 45 70s and 12 gauge with slugs and 3-inch, 3.5-inch Magnum with slug. And when I tell these people, we've already body shot one with a 308. And I didn't know the guy at a 308 or he had never been there. But my suggestion to all my hunters, if you can, head shoot.
Yeah.
And we know if we kill the head, the body will die. And it's going to have to be that way. I mean, as cruel as that sounds, for discovery and to be able to get the corpse, I mean, you don't want to wound one and have it run off and you can't find it. I've already been there. And trust me, it is no fun hunting a 7.5 foot Bigfoot at night that's wounded. I've been there and done that. And I didn't have a bit of fun.
Well, Jim, if you tag one, let's just say you tag one, you got it down,
okay,
and you got it down on the ground, and you're going to bag and tag it. They generally live in communities. They seem to be a community, as far as I can tell, the research I was looking at, they tend to be a community-oriented creature. What's to stop revenge from happening on you guys? Even before you get a chance, get out of the woods. I mean, if you got 20, 30 Bigfoot and they want to do you in, you'd be hard-pressed to take them all.
Yeah, well, the thing about it is, and what I've always told everybody is, you don't come to a gunfight throwing a rock or a stick. And when we go in as an extraction crew, there's 4 or 5 of us plus the hunter. So we're in there. We probably got 500 or 600 rounds of ammunition with us when we go in. So we can stand it for a while. But then again, we get down to we believe that we're hunting a rogue type of aggressive animal and that he's more or less on his own. He's not running with a clan or with a group. He's just on his own.
Okay.
He beds up by himself. He forges for himself, and whatever he does is by himself and not with a family.
Something akin to like a Lobo wolf.
That's right.
Yep, like a great big Lobo timber.
So you guys are out there and having these experiences and these encounters. It sounds like you both had a few at least that were really, really vivid and probably extraordinarily startling. So you have way, way more experience and way more insight than almost anyone. I'd love to hear both of your thoughts. What are these things? Where did they come from? What species are they, in your opinion?
Go ahead, Peter.
Well, we'll have to think about that. I think it's kind of the crux. I mean, one of the elements in this show is the whole discussion about whether you kill one or not. And at the heart of that argument is it ape-like or human-like? And, it goes right back to, Skamania, Washington, where there's a law in the books where you can't shoot or kill a Bigfoot. And many of the people, who don't want to see a Bigfoot, not even a single one killed for any reason, is they feel it would be murder because they're human-like. And in fact, the people from that group, and which you'll see in our show, they want to treat Bigfoot like a tribal people. Yeah. They believe that these are literally a kind of human and early, variation of us that's out there in the woods. And if you go, and meet them, you shouldn't be bringing a gun. You should leave food out for it and befriend it, and if possible, even play music to it. And you'll see that in the show as well. So Jim has some really strong views on that, and you got a little bit of it from our meeting in Hanobia, where people were pretty much fired up about the whole thing, and it gets really heated. So, Jim believes that these are ape-like, and there's a theory that Gigantopithecus, an actual proven, type of primate that existed, 200,000 to 300,000 years ago, that it crossed the ice bridge from Asia, and it's a massive gorilla. This is a 10 to 12 foot tall gorilla. I've worked with mountain gorillas. I was there 2 years ago in Uganda. And, a big silverback was, 300, 350 pounds, but about no more than, 5'10" to 6 feet tall, really. And, but if you can picture an animal 12 feet tall, that's what Gigantopithecus was. And a lot of people believe that it's a holdover of this ancient kind of gorilla.
That's something else, because I could only imagine. I mean, we've heard a lot of reports over the years about Bigfoot sightings, and a lot of the people, you never hear about negative attacking reports. You don't hear that, Jim and Pete. You never hear, especially these teams, and I'm very apolitical on it because I don't know enough to make an educated guess. But you have two camps. You have the kill and do not kill, but the ones that are pro-life, so to speak, they never have any negative stories or any negative encounters. In fact, what Peter said, play music to it, and they're our friends. They're the peaceful wood people. There has also been a lot of negative encounters. Well, Beast of Boggy, what was it again? Beast of Boggy Creek. That was definitely a nasty one.
Joel, the thing that I want to tell you, though, that these people that get out and play these flute and wear blindfolds and what I consider make a fool of themselves, never have any evidence. They've never had a sighting. So I don't know how you could draw a conclusion on something that you don't know anything about and you have no evidence collected.
Yeah.
What we've done is sightings over the years, and the people that I know, and I know a lot of Bigfooters. I know a lot of people that have had sightings. And when they tell me we're talking about sightings, and they don't look human-like. Mine down here are not human-like in the face at all. I mean, I had a 6-footer stand within 12 foot under me, and me looking dead at it during the daytime. Granted, it wasn't for a long period of time, but it came up on me while I was deer hunting. And had drooped cheeks, kind of looked like it had a kid with Down syndrome, but it was completely ape. There was not anything that resembled human to me.
Now, as far as intelligence, how intelligent, Pete and Jim, would you put these creatures? I mean, are they really smart, or are they just lucky?
No, they're smart. By some of the stuff that I've seen them build, the teepees and things, and the stick wheels, I would say probably around 11 to 12-year-old mentality. They have enough sense to put pine boughs up, lean them up against trees for cover, and get out of the weather. And that's something like we did when we were kids, like you when you were a kid.
Yeah,
you'd build your little fort.
Yep.
And that's what we did. And that's what they do, except it's just a bigger animal. It would stack brush. I had one place down there at my across an iron bridge, and he built him a pretty good cabin down there, but it wasn't intricate. It was just limbs stacked, and vines pulled.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if you got in it, you could see out of it and keep the wind off of you to a point. But I would think 11 or 12-year-old kid.
Very interesting. Eric, what's your thoughts on all that?
Well, I'm trying to ponder kind of the moral. I'm having a hard time because I can really see both sides of it. And it does seem to me, for me personally, a really key element of this is that aggressive aspect. And you really don't hear much about that with the northern tier, the Pacific Northwest and all across the Midwest. You don't hear about them being aggressive, at least in this era. You hear some stories from the past. And that was one of the things I wanted to ask about. You had that really famous tale from Oklahoma from the 1800s about the war with Bigfoot. Do you guys think that is really what that was? Is that a real incident, or is that a legend? But, go ahead with that.
Is it worth mentioning Timber's experiences or from the same area?
Yeah, well, yes, it is. Some of the things that we know about, in the Choctaws, that's the incident you're talking about, is, they had a war, but almost every tribal unit at one time had some kind of dealings with Bigfoot. Probably one of the most famous was the Red-Headed Giants out of Las Vegas. And they were coming in, they were killing the Indians, stealing the Indians, eating the dead corpses, killing the squaws and the kids and eating them. And so these Indians drove them into a cave and finally burned them out and killed them all. But, this has been going on forever.
Yeah.
So we have a guy on the team who is from Oklahoma, and it's quite a famous case, and he's actually was under siege by several Bigfoot on his property, up against his house. His daughter was terrified, and he and his brother were basically fending these Bigfoot off for quite some time.
Yeah, that was a siege at what is called a siege at Honobia, and or Honabi.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bigfoot kept coming up. These Bigfoot would come up, and they got brazen. They were scratching on the windows, and the kids were seeing them. And then it was going into the freezer and taking the deer meat. Well, it came up on the porch, and or it scratched on the air conditioning vent or something. Anyway, Tug walked outside, and he saw this one, and he wasn't going to shoot it. He really didn't know what it was, but it turned and quartered toward him, and that's when he shot it. And then from then on, for 3 or 4 days, they had straight running hell with these other Bigfoot animals that came up around the home. Now, there wasn't any damage done, and nobody got hurt or injured, or another Bigfoot wasn't. But, he's one of our team members. Michael, it was his brother, and, of course, I know both of them real well. Mm-hmm. But it's things happen all the time that we don't hear.
Yeah.
Especially this part of Louisiana that I'm in. For every report I get, there's 20 or 25 that I don't even hear about.
Yeah.
And the reason being is these people just won't talk. I mean, these old timers, their tongue is tied. They will not tell you a thing. And, I know stories of people having tracks in their garden. And, if it happens again, I'll call you. Or, having something.
Yeah, and you never hear from them. Yeah. No, and that's the thing. People seem to be, a lot of them anyway, seem to be afraid to open up about their sightings. I don't know, in fear of sounding crazy or what they're afraid of, but, because I'll get emails with someone, we saw this thing in the woods, not quite sure what it is, because I'm good friends with the Northern Minnesota Bigfoot research team. And so I'll pass it on to them, and I'll say, hey, this is what I got. But they're very hesitant to open up because I think a lot of it, like, they don't want to be known as crazy. They don't want to be the crackpot that saw the Bigfoot that didn't exist. Yeah, they don't want to be that guy. Yep. And so getting people to open up. Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
Sorry, go ahead. No, you can finish.
But getting people to open up, my area, I live in rural northern Minnesota, it sounds very much like your area as far as mentality goes. It's a rural area. Everyone knows each other. The last thing you want to do is be that guy in the community that's a little strange. And that's the thing. You don't want that reputation. And that, I can respect that, but also I don't respect it in the way that we should be sharing information. If you see something, say something, because it could be that key piece of evidence that blows this whole thing wide open.
Sure. Well, the thing about it is, though, probably when people first started knowing that I was into Bigfoot some years back, when I'd walk into a place or something, they'd kind of grin, there's the nut. And it's not like that now, okay? Mm-hmm. Our judge down here was going to go into this exotic goat breeding program. He went and bought thousands of dollars of goats. And within 2 weeks, he was out of the goat business. Never found a track, had a 6-foot fence, and never saw where anything got in and out of the pen. And so I saw him at the store, and I asked him, I know him real well, and I said, Charlie, what happened to your goats? He said, one of your damn Bigfoots came and got him. I said, it wasn't one of them. There's a slew of them down there. And here's the point. These animals are everywhere.
Yeah.
They're not just in, people think, well, I've heard these experts, there's a couple of thousand of them. There is a couple of thousand on the Sabine River from my house to Leesville. I'm just telling you, they're everywhere. I see small tracks. I used to never, ever see juvenile tracks. And I can go to the river or down in Kostashie and find juvenile tracks every time I go. And, of course, I know what I'm looking for.
The question that I always get asked whenever an interview like this happens, and there was obviously a large breeding population, I always get asked afterwards, Joe and Pete, well, if there's so many of them, we should be bumping right into them. Come hunting season, you'd think we'd see 100 of them. Why?
I could say something about that, because we had an experience on the production where I sent a couple of hunters out to an area where, Bigfoot or some kind of ape creature had been sighted. and they came back with something on a GoPro that had just been running on a hunter's head that we then looked at. It's in the show, and we looked at it on a big screen, and there's a bipedal something, and it's only moving when the hunter moves, and it stays stock still.
Yeah.
So it's Bigfoot, if they're intelligent, all they have to do is stop. And that was evident in this GoPro footage. And they stop, and they're just lined up with all the trees, and they're hidden behind a tree, and then you don't see them. And only when the guy starts moving again does the thing cross over and walk out of the forest. I think it's great footage. It's, again, you know, people say, well, there's so many people with iPhones.
Yeah.
Why aren't we getting Bigfoot? Well, iPhones make a terrible wildlife camera. You know, it's not exactly a big zoom thing, or you're going to be out there in the woods with your thumb and forefinger trying to zoom into it.
Yeah.
It ain't going to work. You need a proper wildlife camera. So people, even though there's more digital cameras out, they're not the right kind of camera to capture these things for the most part.
Yeah.
And then these creatures, apparently, from what I've seen, whatever that was staying still so it wouldn't be noticed.
Yeah, well, Pete, you're right, because I've been in the wild, and I know we have black bears. Seen them, I hunt them. Try to get a picture of one. You know, I mean, they're gone so fast. You don't even have the camera out by the time, you know. You never get a shot off at them.
And they're extremely stealth. They can sneak up on you in a heartbeat and you not even know they're there.
Yeah, exactly. And again, Destination America, what time is this show airing? What night?
It's airing on Saturday, February 4th at 10 p.m. and 9 Central. And that's, check it out. Check your local listings. And then it's, going to be running, all through February, March. And definitely catch it on Destination America.
Oh, absolutely. And Jim, how can people get a hold of you guys if they have a sighting in your area, or if anyone's listening anyway with any really good sighting? How can they get a hold of your team?
You can contact us, Joel, through our website at GCBRO.com, or you can contact us through the Killing Bigfoot Facebook page. Our Jim Lansdale Facebook page. I mean, there's a lot of different ways. If you have something that you need to talk to us about, you can always drop us a line. Everything that we do is in confidentiality. We would never discuss your name with anybody, what's going on. So, we're easy to get a hold of. And a lot of people do get in touch with us.
Yeah. Well, Eric, what do you think, man? What do you think about the whole Bigfoot thing? We got about a minute left. What's your 2 cents?
Well, I like very much the fact that this really different point of view is being put forth. It's being put forth strongly, and I think it's being put forth logically. I certainly have a different perspective on it, having heard these arguments. I love the part about the evolutionary aspect where we have these inbreeding. That makes really good sense as to why, for example, that particular population might be more aggressive than others. And so that makes sense to me. I'm going to ponder that. I think that these guys know what they're talking about and explain themselves well and have very good logical and I think even moral foundation for what they're doing. And I guess I'm convinced, and I'm certainly very, very eager to see the episodes from here on out. Love to see some evidence. I have to take a step back and go, wow, these guys are so matter-of-fact about this. I mean, there's not like even any doubt in their mind that these creatures exist. And that in and of itself carries a lot of weight.
Well,
for me personally, he's on the fence. You know what I mean? I'm still on the fence.
I'm right there with you, man. I'm still on the fence, but you guys did a great job explaining it. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Jim and Peter. And we'll be watching Destination America February 4th. Catch it. Check your local listing for time. But until then, this is Joel and Eric. We are signing off. Take care, everyone. Thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM. And please remember to like us on Facebook and also follow us over on Twitter.